Today I want to share an application of the Enneagram that I recently presented to a group that's focused on marketing. And specifically, I wanted to show them how they could use the Enneagram to craft narratives that were targeted to each of the personas that are described by the Enneagram. Now, the Enneagram has these 9 distinct dynamics, and each one of them represents a persona that you can hone language to that will resonate with that persona. And the Enneagram also describes sequences. Now, the most obvious sequence is the sequence around the circle, right? 1 through 9. And you can see that. And that's the most generic sequence, and you can craft a narrative using that sequence as well. I call that the problem-solving narrative, and I'll briefly touch on that at the end. But what I really wanted to do was hone in on a narrative that was targeted for each one of the types. And for that, I used the lines that are inside of the Enneagram circle. And you can see that there are 2 sets of lines that describe sequences. One is described by that triangle, the red triangle, and those are the 3, the 6, and the 9. And then there is the sequence described by the blue lines, and that you can start anywhere, but starting with 1, it goes over to 7, then 5, then 8, over to 2, 4, and then back to 1. And for each one of these sequences, you can start at any point and then follow around. Okay, so let me give you an example. So I crafted language for this particular talk. And I'll read it to you, and then just imagine what Enneagram type you think I was targeting here. So you want to engage with clients in a fun way that makes them happy. Matt Schlegel presents a thoughtful approach that serves as a guide for action that will help you help your clients while making a positive emotional impact. This principled approach allows you to realize your ultimate goal, make your clients happy. Okay, so what Enneagram type do you think I was talking about there? Now, I had some insider information on this organization. I have given the Enneagram assessment to over 100 members of this organization. So I have a very good understanding of the dynamics. And the 2 dynamics that really stand out are the 7 dynamic and the 3 dynamic. So in this case, I decided to write the blurb targeted for a type 7 dynamic. I also did a type 3 dynamic, so I'll show you both examples. But first, let me show you the 7. So for the 7, you want to start with that fun and positiveness. That is going to attract the attention of a type 7, right? And then as you move through the points described by the lines in the sequence, the next point is the 5, which is the 5s want to be informed. And so you bring in informative, thoughtful. The next point is 8, which they want to get to action. 2 wants to be helpful. 4 wants to have an emotional impact and be unique. 1 is principled, and 7 back to fun, right? And so here's what it looks like deconstructed. So you can see, you want to engage with clients in a fun way that makes them happy. So that's that 7. Matt Schlegel presents a thoughtful approach. So that's the 5 that serves as a guide to action, which is the 8 that will help you help your clients. So that's the 2. And then while making a positive emotional impact. Okay, so that's that 4 feeling coming through. And then this principled approach allows you to realize your goal. So 1s like principles and they like goals. And then back to 7, which is that makes your clients happy. So that's how I constructed that blurb to target a type 7 dynamic. Okay, so now let's look at the sequence described by the triangle. Okay, so and this time I did it with the type 3 in mind because that's the other dominant character or dynamic associated with this organization. And so this is the blurb I came up with. Win-win. Your client's success is your success. Matt Schlegel shares a big idea for how you can consistently lead your clients to successful outcomes using a considerate, attentive, high-touch approach, achieving success for both you and your clients. All right, so did you feel 3 in that? So here's what I was going for with 3. So 3 wants success, right? And so you want to formulate this around winning and success. 3s are also idea people, so you want to include something around ideas. And then you follow through. The 6, they want the predictable and the consistency. The 9 wants the harmoniousness, and the 3 back to success. So here's how the narrative is deconstructed. Win-win. Your client's success is your success. Matt Schlegel shares a big idea for how you can. So that win-win, the success, and the big idea are all elements that are going to appeal to a type 3. And then the 6 wants the predictableness and the consistency. So I say consistently lead your clients to successful outcomes. And then the 9 wants to have harmony. And so it's considerate, attentive, high-touch approach. And then back to success, achieving success for both you and your clients. So you can see how that would resonate with the 3 and then touch on each one of those elements in the narrative that makes sense to the 3. Now, let's just briefly touch on the narrative structure for the general audience. If you don't know the dynamic of the group that you're going to be speaking to, or if you're speaking to, say, an executive team that's going to have multiple dynamics, or say a board of directors, I find that the narrative described by the circle, the problem-solving narrative, is very powerful. And so the way that looks is, as I describe in my book, Teamwork 9.0, the Enneagram is also a problem-solving process. So you can just go through the dynamics of each one of these Enneagram types, pull out that problem-solving dynamic, and put it into the narrative. So step 1 is, describe the problem and describe what the goals are. Step 2 is who cares? So all of the stakeholders that are involved. Step 3 of the narrative is what are the ideas that you considered? And then step 4 is what feedback did you get? What was the emotional reaction to those ideas? And what were the ideas that had the most positive reaction? Then now you're moving over into the head group, which starts with the 5, and you want to validate. This is how you validated the idea to make sure that it's going to work. This is the analysis that you did to validate it. And then once you have a validated idea, then you want to show this is the plan that you put together from point A to point B into the future to implement the idea. So that planning is that type 6 dynamic, right? Now, when you're actually presenting this to your audience, that's a very 7 activity, right? You're promoting this proposal or plan that you've put together. So that is the 7 dynamic. And you could say, so I'm here to present this to you and get your permission to move forward and implement the plan, which is 8. And then I will show you the results. And that's the 9. And so that's that would be the narrative structure around the circle for the generic case. So these are a couple of ideas for how you can use the Enneagram to create narratives that are tuned for specific audiences that are described by these Enneagram dynamics. Thanks so much for listening. If you like this, click on the thumbs up button, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel to get notifications of future episodes. Thanks again.